New Jersey, one of two states now electing a governor this year, and the race is getting a lot of national attention. Republicans and Democrats zeroing in on the Garden State and looking for clues about which party has the most momentum heading into those midterms. We're going to be joined right now by Fox's Sarah Allegri in Cranberry, New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us. This race coming down to the wire, a very high-profile race. What can you tell us? What's the latest?
Yeah, hi there, Andy Mack. We know the New Jersey governor's race, it is getting very tight. Over the past couple of days, I've been following around Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli. He's made several stops here, one today in rural New Jersey, and he's trying to close the gap against the Democratic candidate here, Mikie Sherrill. Now, we know both political parties, they are watching this race very closely, trying to get a better idea and a hint, essentially, into how voters feel about President Trump's current policies, the economic landscape, but also the overall direction of the country. Now, I want to take you to our latest Fox News poll. It's brand new. This is what it tells us. It has Democrat Mikie Sherrill leading New Jersey's governor race with 50%. Now, Ciattarelli trails at 42. That's an 8-point gap outside the poll's margin of error. The two are vying to replace term-limited Democratic governor Phil Murphy. He narrowly defeated Ciattarelli in 2021. Now, this time, Ciattarelli's campaigning against state housing policies he says are forcing high-density development into the suburbs.
Around the state, I find a lot of Democrats agree with me on this issue. And when you see Republicans winning in towns that are overwhelmingly Democratic over this issue, it tells you that people are having a wake-up call. And people want us to stop with the overdevelopment of our suburban communities. That's what's taking place here across New Jersey.
Yeah, today Ciattarelli's campaign tour stopped at a 175-year-old farm, and just a few months ago, the local government here wanted to seize that farm for government-mandated housing before President Trump actually stepped in. Now, Ciattarelli says it's proof of Democratic overreach. Now, in a statement earlier this year, Sherrill said career politicians like Jack Ciattarelli created the housing crisis, and we need to address it. But I do not support seizing a 175-year-old family farm to do so. Development must be smart, collaborative, and protective of open spaces. Now, this weekend at a campaign stop, Sherrill also criticized Ciattarelli for his support of Trump.
And it's his job to support the president. I don't care who's president. It is the job of the governor of New Jersey to support the people of New Jersey, no matter what it takes.
This is the first statewide test since last year's presidential election. Now, Democrats took the state in both 2020 and 2024. Now, last year, former VP Kamala Harris won New Jersey at 52%, while Trump finished at a little over 46%. In fact, a Republican presidential candidate hasn't won in New Jersey since 1988. And recent history also tells us that Ciattarelli is going to have a bit of an uphill climb here. Now, since President Trump's first term, Democratic candidates have mostly overperformed against their Republican candidates as well on the ballot, especially in an election cycle when Trump isn't on the ballot. Andy Mack.
All right, thank you so much. And these races are always so very heated, and they usually don't come during a government shutdown. In terms of if this prolongs, are there concerns about that, people getting to the polls? Is there anything in terms of context with federal government shutdown that you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that was a point of contention that was mentioned here on this rural landscape a little bit earlier ago. We know Jack Ciattarelli is trying to work with President Trump. I know some of the people who oppose his policies say that he supports President Trump, that he's not going to allow things like this to happen, but rather Jack Ciattarelli saying because of his collaboration with the president, he's able to shake hands down the aisle and to get movement moving forward at this point in time. He's not too worried about polls being shut down and that sort of thing. He's confident about the president's overall plan moving forward and that New Jersey voters will have their voice heard come November 4th.
And of course, this is a state-run kind of election, so they will have their hands on it, not at federal level. So, Sarah, thank you so much for that clarification. I appreciate your time, your reporting. You're on Live Now. All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation as she was out there at this farm alongside the Republican Candidate Jack Ciattarelli talking about this, and you can see on social media the Jack for NJ, New Jersey. He's out at Andy's Farm, Cranberry, today, saying he outlined my plan to stop the overdevelopment of our state. It's shocking that the supposedly pro-environment Democratic Party supports using eminent domain to condemn a 175-year-old farm with high-density housing. This is wrong, and if it continues, there will be no garden left in the Garden State. My plan protects open spaces, restores regional contribution agreements, directs growth to urban centers with transit jobs. It's time to save the Garden State. When I'm governor, we will. And of course, these two candidates there is Phil Murphy, the outgoing, term limited in terms of his seat as the governor of New Jersey. Let's take you out to this full press conference earlier on today. Jack Ciattarelli speaking about some of his policies, his mindset as we are about a month away from this election.
To be used to condemn open space. We should be preserving open space here in New Jersey every chance we get, not condemning it. And by the way, property rights are sacred in this country. Eminent domain is like fire. Use it the wrong way, you get burned. But it can be a very powerful tool. It was always meant to give municipalities leverage to address blight. I don't see a whole lot of blight. I see what New Jerseyans want to see, more open space. Let's stop taking garden out of the Garden State.
Would you be open to citizen-led ballot initiative process, potentially one that could lead to maybe a constitutional amendment to reverse Mount Laurel or other forms? Or would you support a process like that?
Listen, in the end, we need change here in New Jersey, and if initiative and referendum, ballot referendum is the way to go, we certainly should take advantage of it. Not just when it comes to the Mount Laurel housing doctrine, but also when it comes to school funding. But I'll be looking for Supreme Court justices that agree with me on those two issues.
A little off topic, but how important do you think Black and Hispanic voters are to you winning this campaign?
I'm sorry?
How important do you think Black and Hispanic voters are to you winning your campaign?
Okay, next question. Charlie, I'm going to take you out of the penalty box.
Oh, gee.
Don't tell me you're ill-prepared.
Well, off-topic question.
Let's stick to the topic at hand first here.
Okay, I'll wait.
Real quick, you said you would repeal the affordable housing law and you want to change Mount Laurel. You need majorities in the chambers to do that. What districts are you hoping would give you those majorities?
I'm certainly open to any and all options available to the governor, which I hope to be and plan to be. We do know the New Jersey state governor the New Jersey governorship is the most powerful in the nation by state constitution. But listen, as I go around this state, I find a lot of Democrats agree with me on this issue. And when you see Republicans winning in towns that are overwhelmingly Democratic over this issue, it tells you that people are having a wake-up call. And people want us to stop with the overdevelopment of our suburban communities. That's what's taking place here across New Jersey.
So if you don't have a majority, it is a law, what can you do?
What I can do is a couple things. Number one, go before the state Supreme Court on day one with my Attorney General and make the argument that what we're seeing with all this high-density housing is inconsistent with DEP policies when it comes to sewer capacity and stormwater management. This overdevelopment is, I want to repeat this, there are regulations at the DEP that the manner in which that we approach high-density housing, it's inconsistent with those regulations, particularly on things like stormwater management and sewer capacity. So let's point out to our Supreme Court that over here we're doing housing policy that is in violation of DEP regulations over here. The second thing that we can do is I do get the opportunity, if I have the privilege of serving for 2 terms, 2 new Supreme Court state justices, one of which is the Chief Justice. And I've said all along, I'm not appointing anybody that doesn't agree with me on the 2 issues of high-density housing and school funding. But third, I plan to sit down with the leadership in the legislature, whoever that might be at the time, to talk about this issue. And I think there is a lot of support in the legislature for a different approach to how we address the affordable housing crisis across New Jersey. So let's have that discussion and see what we come up with. You know, when I was in the 16th legislative district, I represented 14 towns. And there were towns like Raritan Township and Hillsborough Township, Republican controlled, that agreed with the leadership in townships like Montgomery and Princeton, democratically controlled, on what was going on and what was happening to our suburban communities. And if we can have a meetings of minds at that level amongst people from different parties that are leading up our towns, I think we can do it in the legislature.
New York Times, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were signaling me. No, never mind. Okay.
I'll do another if I can.
Daniel.
Jack, I have an off topic for you. The Murphy administration has taken steps to expand access to COVID-19 vaccines. Would you keep those in place if you're governor?
I'm not familiar with exactly what he's done on COVID-19 vaccines.
Anything on overdevelopment?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Lots more. I'm sorry.
Colleen.
It's like it's my topic, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
So where do you put the housing then? You want to put it in places like a Somerville?
When we talk about providing more high-density housing, which we need to do, when we talk about doing that consistent with smart growth strategies, what we're talking about is putting it in places like a Somerville, which is designated as a transit hub because it has a Raritan Valley train line, because it has a New Jersey Transit bus line, because it's got infrastructure, because it has jobs. The goal should be to put fewer idling cars on our roads. Congestion is also an issue in the state. And let me be clear, a lot of the congestion you see on municipal and county roads today that you didn't see 10, 15, and 20 years ago, a lot of the flooding that you see today is not just that the rainfall is different, it's due to the overdevelopment. Last month, I think it was up in Union County, we saw flooding in places like Scotch Plains, Fanwood, and Westfield that we had never seen before. It has all to do with the overdevelopment that's taking place.
Jack, the regional contribution agreements, the ending of that, the problem with those are that they allowed towns to completely wash their hands of their responsibility and just offer a paycheck to urban areas.
Charlie, it's no secret that I'm an advocate for the regional contribution agreements, the RCAs. I do believe we should approach high density and affordable housing on a more regional basis. That is not to say that rural communities like this one shouldn't have a skin in the game. We know that every type of development, there's a fee that goes into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and everyone should have a skin in the game in terms of making the housing affordable. Okay, but that doesn't mean we should put in a community such as this, nor should we be condemning this farm. Now, I know there are those who don't like RCAs that will claim that that is a form of exclusionary zoning. Oh, they don't want that in their town. The biggest challenge we have with the builder remedy suits is that when the fourth round quotas came along, the mandate, and said that any town has to have 100 affordable housing units, the developer comes along and says, well, in order for me to afford 100 units, I have to put up 500 units. Therein lies the problem. So I'm an advocate for RCAs because I think we need to do it consistent with smart growth strategies, but we also need a different economic model. And that's where we have to come up with another solution so that we don't have to put up 500 units in order to accommodate the 100 affordable housing units. Fred?
Jack, how about like regional planning as opposed to letting planning decisions be made by the local planning board? How about like giving the county planning board more teeth?
Every single county government in this state has a county planning board. I always felt we did a damn good job in Somerset County of regional planning. And you saw that with the very unique relationship between Bridgewater, Raritan, and Somerville, where planning took place on a regional basis. So yes, but listen, the whole point, another important point here that should not be lost. We really need to drive population growth in this state toward our major urban centers. You know, I was in Atlantic City recently and they were lamenting the fact that there were so many empty storefronts on Atlantic Avenue. And I understand that there are, 72 to be exact. And when I got up to speak, I said, does anybody know what the population of this city was 100 years ago? 100 years ago, the population of Atlantic City was 55,000. Today, it's 35,000. What would 20,000 more people mean to the local economy, the mom and pop shops? If Atlantic City could easily accommodate 55,000 people in 1925, don't you think they could accommodate the same number of people, if not more, in 2025?
How would you incentivize the increase in population in those cities?
I believe that people will live where there are a few things: compelling and affordable housing, safe communities, good educational choices, and recreational opportunities. And we've seen this happen in some of our towns. If you look at Somerville today and compare it to where it was 15 years ago, you might not believe your eyes. It was a community plagued by blight. It was a community that was dependent on state aid because it couldn't balance its own local budgets. Take a look at what we've done in Somerville. It's diverse, it's vibrant, low, moderate, and market rates are all in there together because I don't believe that we should be putting the high-density affordable housing units in the corner of town. Mom and pop shops opening left and right downtown. And now, best part for the next governor, Jack Ciattarelli, they don't need any help from the state budget. It's a local, self-sustaining economy.
Do you know how they got there? Like, what was the impetus or what?
We convinced the community that we needed to go up with 4-, 5-, and 6-story buildings on Main Street. We got the community to buy into the need for redevelopment zones to attract developers with capital. We used an urban renewal grant from the state of New Jersey to bring in the anchor, which is the super ShopRite, so that we wouldn't have a food desert. These are all things that we need to do and we can do. And by the way, Somerville's not the first. Take a look at downtown New Brunswick. Take a look at downtown Morristown.
Is there concern on your part that siloing off development to more dense areas would deny places like this the opportunities for economic growth?
I believe that it's up to the mayor, the local leadership, to determine how economic growth should take place in their town. But it should not be by state mandate. What was happening here was as a result of a state mandate. Now, I disagree with the local leadership using eminent domain. This was not the purpose or the spirit of the eminent domain law. It was to address blight. There's no blight here, there's open space. And we need open space here in the state of New Jersey. He agrees.
One more.
Charlie?
Question. President put a pause on Gateway. So, Governor Ciattarelli, what are you doing in this instance? This is a major economic project for this area.
We've seen shutdowns before at the federal level, Charlie. There's a negotiation that's taking place, but if you take a close look at the Gateway project, which is managed by the Gateway Commission, that project does not stop because of this shutdown. It continues.
How does this affect your campaign? Doesn't she give your opponent the opportunity to say, look, this is an example of how Trump is bringing harm to New Jersey?
I think you need credibility in order for someone to believe what you're saying. I don't think my opponent has a whole lot of credibility at this point.
All right, just listening in there, Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican candidate for governor in the Garden State. He was at a farm, their 175-year-old farm. One question, though, getting a lot of notoriety right now. He was asked by a reporter, how important do you think Black and Hispanic voters are to you winning this campaign? He said no comment, moving on, trying to stay on topic. Mikie Sherrill, though, responding, saying, I'll answer the question directly. I'll take Black and Hispanic voters seriously. I've been listening across the state, and I'll deliver on what families need. Tell me they need lower costs, safer communities, better schools, and real small business opportunity. I'll be a governor for every community because when each of us has a fair shot, New Jersey is stronger. And, of course, we're going to hear from Jack Ciattarelli coming up on Sunday here on Live Now from Fox. We're going to speak with that candidate in full just before 6 o'clock.